Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Hi, I'm Speeder. May have been slightly zoomed. Anyways, hello. It's been a couple days since I filmed because school started this past Wednesday. It's now Friday. I don't have school on Fridays, so I am now gonna film today. So today's video, I will be talking about The Dragon Prince, Season 1, Episode 6, Through the Ice. Basically, I'll be doing a review on it. I just finished watching it. I have seen the entire show before, but keep in mind that this video will contain spoilers for at least the first 6 episodes of The Dragon Prince. And I will attempt to keep it spoiler-free for the rest of it in case you haven't seen it for some reason. So, yeah. But yeah, let's just get into it, I guess. So, this is how it works. I basically go over different things about the episode. I usually talk about everything that happens inside the episode, and kind of go over the different things, importance and stuff. And then I go over the overall story, if there are any character introductions, which I don't believe there are any in this episode. Yeah, there aren't. Action, humor, and character development. And sometimes I'll make some notes about the animation. Which overall, I love the animation of The Dragon Prince, except for Season 1 has some choppiness in it. But after Season 1, it gets significantly better. And so, yeah. Overall, it's great. But anyways, I'm not sure why I'm so tired. But anyways, let's just get into it, I guess. So, at the beginning of this episode, you have Rayla, Callum, and Ezran all sleeping outside by this tree, and Rayla is woken up by a twig snapping. So she goes to investigate, and at first she thinks it's just a deer, but in truth it's actually Corvus, who we met in a previous episode briefly. It was the Bantha Lodge episode. Not remembering exactly which one it is. Bloodthirsty, I think, was the episode. I think it was Bloodthirsty. But we meet Corvus very quickly at the end of that, after Amaya sends him to go track them and get the princess back. So she finds out it's Corvus, who tries to trap her, and does not succeed. And they have a fight. And at the end of the fight, though, I believe it's cut off several times to go to different scenes, but I'm just going to go through the fight itself since it all happens one thing after another. But they fight, and near the end of the fight, Corvus discovers that Rayla hasn't told them that the king is dead, and that Ezran also has to die for her binding to come off of her wrist. I believe it's this wrist, which is my right wrist. Though it may be her left wrist. Wait. I think it's her right wrist. I'm not sure. But anyways, this is my right. This is my left. But anyways, so just the camera flips things. At least from this angle. I don't know. No, that would. Yeah. Sorry. Anyways, I'm going on tangents. I am way out of it today for some reason. But anyways. I even woke up like an hour ago. What the heck? Okay. That might be why, actually. That may be why. Okay, I just had a thought something might be the reason, but... Okay, so... after this fight with Corvus, after he is defeated by Rayla, just barely, Rayla goes back to camp, and before she gets back there, we go to another scene, with Soren, running up some stairs, and he goes out onto what I can only assume are, what are they called, battlements, I think, of the, the castle in Catalis, where he meets Viren up there, his father, and they have a conversation, where Viren, using some roundabout language, basically tells Soren to kill the princes. He says he's supposed to come home with the news that Prince Callum and Prince Ezran are dead, and that after that, Viren will take up the throne. And he uses this very lame excuse that Ezran would not have the strength to make the hard decisions as a king, and so he doesn't believe he'd be fit as a king, which I think is rather a weak excuse. But anyways, so that happens, and then you cut to Ezran and Callum, not Rayla at this point, but it's Ezran and Callum, and Ezran wakes up and Rayla's gone, because obviously she's out fighting Corvus right now, and he wakes Callum up and says Rayla's missing. Callum has a moment where he's like, we shouldn't trust her, all that, she's hiding something, it's not because she's an elf, I think she's hiding something from us, which obviously she is, she's hiding several things from them, so I don't think we should trust her, did she take the egg, all that, but before this, Callum was having an interesting dream, where he's talking in his sleep, and obviously, yeah, it's an interesting dream, but, so Callum talks in his sleep a little bit, and so that's how you know. And you get a nice, funny moments where, when Callum wakes up, and Ezran mentions to him that he was talking in his sleep, and that he said something about peanut butter. And Callum's like, oh yeah! Peanut butter sandwiches! When you grow up, we'll have a nice heart-to-heart talk about sandwiches. Which is brilliant. And may or may not have a callback later. But anyways, Rayla comes back in a hurry. And can I mention something that bothers me a little bit about this episode? In the first 5 episodes, you have a lot of really great facial expressions and lines and stuff. There's a lot of great lines and facial expressions and everything, and the characters feel real. But this episode, for some weird reason, it's just so choppy. Just like, there's some interactions that feel not natural when they should be natural. Like, there's an interaction later on with Soren and Claudia where they're just having a simple conversation. And yes, I know it's supposed to be kind of awkward because they're both keeping something from each other, but at the same time, it was too awkward. It didn't flow right, as well as interaction about food later on, with Rayla, Callum, and Ezran, and Bait. That was so choppy. Like, I am sorry, but that was just, it felt not real. It just felt choppy. the lines weren't, I would almost say, not delivered incredibly well, or just not written very well. I don't know. It didn't flow correctly, and it kind of bothered me. Most of the acting, the voice acting, and the lines, and the animation, and everything is great throughout this entire show. But this episode specifically had some just not great interactions. I'm sorry, but that did kind of bother me. If you watch the episode and you look for it, you'll probably understand what I mean. But I mean, it is a great show, and every show slips up. Even Avatar: The Last Airbender slips up, and I've seen that a billion times, and it's one of my favorite shows. Obviously, this one's gonna slip up too. But yeah, every show does. I mean, it's not like it's the Arrowverse and that gigantic downfall, but yeah. Anyways, okay. Alright, so basically after that happens, Rayla runs in, she rushes them off, doesn't tell them why, and they conveniently leave their food behind. And then you have another one of the few good interactions. Again, this one, it's decently done, but it's choppy. Again, I'm sorry, but it didn't feel natural. And maybe it's supposed to feel that way, and if it is, then well done, because you made it feel that way. But if it wasn't intentional, then yeah. So Viren talks to Claudia after she tries to do something with a strange mirror that they say was kept near the bed of the Dragon King and Dragon Queen. They kept it very close to them at all times, which is a bit strange, right? So there's something going on with this mirror, which, by the way, this is not the first time we have seen this mirror. We have also seen Viren studying it in, I believe, the first episode. And yeah. But basically, Viren tells Claudia that the egg comes first, and that no matter what happens to the princes or even Soren, she has to come back with the egg, because it is the #1 priority. Nothing, not even her own brother's life, should come before it. Which I think that does kind of show Viren's ruthlessness. Or not ruthlessness, his strong belief in what he's doing, and that he would sacrifice literally anything to keep this egg. He would do anything, even sacrifice his own son. But anyways, sorry, something's caught. Okay. So after that happens, you go back to the trio. Callan, Ezran, and Rayla, and I guess it's 4 people because there's also Bait. But basically, they discovered that they left their bread behind, their super stale bread behind. Whoa. I just got dizzy. I need water after this. I haven't drunk any water today. Don't follow that example. Bad idea. Just got lightheaded for a second. Okay, yeah, I need water after this. But, anyways, I'm a bit dehydrated, which may cause me to feel a bit dizzy. But, yeah, I'm way out of it for some reason. But, okay. Then Rayla discovers that somebody drank her moonberry juice, which leads to a super unrealistic situation, an interaction. What did I call it? Super unrealistic? Okay, so maybe the things that were said weren't exactly unrealistic. In fact, it was actually pretty realistic, but facial expressions in the animation, and in some ways the way the lines were delivered, it was realistic. Yes, the situation was sort of, with all the, when I was younger, I would go through this all the time, but, like, if you have two other siblings here, if one of them didn't eat the bread, and your dad didn't, you know that all of them didn't, so it had to have been you. So was it you? Used to go through that all the time, but me, yes it was, I'm sorry, or me covering up for my sister. But anyways, so this is a weird charger. Okay, yeah, I got more sleep than usual last night, and I am still out of it, if not more than usual. I got 9 hours of sleep. 9.5. I usually don't get that much. Maybe that's why I'm out of it. Okay. Okay. So you discover the bait drank her moonberry juice, and Rayla's obviously upset about this. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier, they went up a extra treacherous path so that they wouldn't come into contact with any other humans, especially because Rayla is an elf, and that would be an interesting interaction, let's just say. But anyways, why am I yawning? I got enough sleep. Why? I'm not even tired. Maybe it's school. I don't even know. What was the other thing? But anyways, so they continue up the path, and in the meantime, Soren and Claudia meet up, and Soren's eating a bunch of jelly tarts. And then you have one of the most uncomfortable interactions in the entire episode, where you have the extreme awkwardness of the situation, where these two siblings are both trying to keep things from each other, and so Claudia's not fully trying to, but she is, kind of. But Soren's completely trying to. And so they're both lying to each other, and this leads to an extremely awkward interaction. So that happens, and then literally the rest of the episode is just the trio. And Ezran starts complaining about the egg and it being too heavy, and asking Rayla to slow down. And Rayla's like, oh yeah, why don't you just let me carry it? Because it's obvious you don't trust me, and, well, I don't know if she said that specifically, but, like, why don't you just let me carry it? I could take it from you at any point, but I don't, because human princes need to be the ones to deliver it. But anyways, Callum and Rayla get into a fight, kind of a yelling match, and this causes the ice, it causes stuff to start cracking, like ice to start cracking, and an avalanche is imminent, and so they quiet down, and then Bait, of course, burps very loudly, which causes the avalanche to come down on their heads, and Callum attempts to keep it back away from them, which he somewhat succeeds with Aspero, but he does not fully succeed. So he does take them away from the head of the blast, but they are hit a little bit at the very end, which sends them flying. And conveniently, Ezran and the egg are sent flying onto a frozen lake. Callum and Rayla are in the snow, and so is Bait. So Ezran grabs the egg and attempts to walk back, but the ice starts cracking underneath him, which is actually a very serious situation. You never want something like that to happen. So Callum tries to go out there and help Ezran, so he army crawls over, takes the egg, and he begins to walk back, but it doesn't work. So he plans to give the egg to Rayla, but Rayla says that she really can't be trusted. She explains that the binding is because of Ezran, so she does reveal that to them in this episode. And she's about to tell them that the king is dead, but Callum says there's no time because the ice is cracking, so he hands her the egg, but her hand, which its circulation is being cut off, obviously, and all that, she is unable to hold the egg because it hurts too bad, and she accidentally drops it, and it falls into the ice. Ezran immediately dives in after it, which I guess it's kind of the only thing they could really do in that situation, but it was still a pretty idiotic move. But again, kind of the only thing they could do. So Ezran goes down there. There's a moment where it's like, oh no, did Ezran die? But no, he didn't, because Rayla's binding is still on her arm. And her wrist, I guess. Yeah. Goodness, I'm yawning a lot. Okay, and then Ezran pops back up, and but he's under the ice. He didn't get back to the right place, so they break the ice open and pull Ezran and the egg out. And Ezran looks like he'll be sick for a little while, but other than that, he's pretty much fine. But the egg is doing something weird, where it's like glowing, and then it stops glowing, and then it's glowing, which probably means that there's something wrong with it, right, as they state at the end of the episode. So, that's the overview of the episode. Not really the overview, but that's everything that happens, plus my little pet peeves about the choppy interactions in this episode, which honestly really bothered me. But there was a decent amount of action in this episode, rather than in the previous episode where there was no action, really. It was a big story episode. Didn't have a lot of action in there. But this one had quite a bit of action and some story as well. But again, it was one of those that was kind of had a loss on humor. But yeah, so the action would be the Corvus Rayla fight, as well as the avalanche scene, and yeah, So the avalanche scene and the Corvus Rayla fight, which I think was actually done pretty well overall. In the humor, you have the peanut butter sandwich dream thing. I don't know how else to put it. And it's honestly kind of it. That's about all. It wasn't a very humor-filled episode. It's definitely not one of my favorite episodes, but I do love the show, so I have to give it that. That is a part of a good show. And it also had some pretty good action at the beginning and some interesting story development with Callum and Ezran beginning to trust Rayla more. Okay, and then you have character development. So, main characters that appeared in this episode were Callum, Rayla, Ezran, Bait, Viren, Claudia, and Soren. And side main characters that appeared were Corvus. That's all. So most of the main characters, not all of them though, appeared in this episode because General Maya was not in this episode. So yeah, but everybody else was. And then you had one side character, basically. So character development. Let's go Rayla. Rayla comes to the conclusion that she needs to tell Callum and Ezran the truth, and so she tries to. She tells them half of the truth, but isn't able to get to telling them that their father is dead because of circumstances. So Rayla's changing. Callum is... His character development in this episode was learning to trust Rayla more. So this was a big trust episode for him. Ezran, you get to see his bravery and his dedication to this egg when he jumps into the frozen lake after the egg. Also, I should mention a moment where Callum is about to jump into the lake after Ezran, but Rayla stops him, which really shows that how much Callum cares about Ezran and how much that can lead him to be a blind idiot. So that happens. Viren, again, like I said, you see his determination to do what he believes is the right thing, even though it really isn't. And he tells his own children their priorities, which he's given Soren his priority to kill the princes over anything else, and Claudia, the egg must be brought back over anything else, including Soren's own life or the lives of the princes, which obviously he doesn't want them to live, so that one doesn't really matter. But anyways, so you have that for Viren. You see Soren and Claudia, their character development in this one is the different ways that they take the news from their father for their missions, and the way that both of them wish, like the level that both of them wish to share with each other their missions, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's really the character development in this one. Overall, it's a decent episode. Definitely not one of my favorites. It's kind of uneventful, except for really the missions and the end, where Rayla tells Ezran and Callum the truth about her binding. And so, yeah, that's that. So, yeah, overall it's a decent episode. It is a bit choppy in some places, but that's alright. So that's all I really have to say about it. I will see you guys next time. Bye.